So we have a question from Kathy from Massachusetts, and her question is, how do we see divine source in our everyday life?
It's a big question because divine source is everything. It's
Everywhere.
that energy that flows through all things that creates this. It's what binds us together. It's what allows us to have this co-creative experience, is that we're all part of it. I think in a more general sense so that people can apply it, uh, it's looking at the world without judgment. So if you can look at the world without judgment, you start to see through the eyes of divine source a little bit. And I think that that will have an effect on what you do with your life and how you approach things.
Yeah, I think it's your attitude that you want to make that connection. It's always going to be there, but are you going to be aware of it? And to be aware of it, you might see it in just being grateful, through gratitude, through laughter, through healing, through interacting with other people, and being kind. That those are all connections to infinite source. And it depends it depends on how you use your day. It's up to you. You can have a great connection, you can have a non-existent connection, or somewhere in between.
And I think one of how she extended on the question was that it's so subtle that people seem to miss it on a regular basis. So one of the things that, because I need real and concrete. I need to be able to document signs. I need to be able to validate it. And one of the things that I've asked God to do is show me like a number, show me something specific that I know it's Him. So for me, numbers really make a lot of sense. And like I said, I can see them often. So God's or source, creator, universe, His vibrational number is zeros. And the zeros are infinite. And so when I know that there's something I need to hear from, let's say, this infinite source, I'll see like the zeros on a license plate. I actually even had a friend who took a picture of her phone. Somebody was calling into her phone, and it was 000-000-0000. That was the phone number that came in. And we just laughed like, God's calling, so we have to pay attention. So
Was it a telemarketer?
I don't know. She didn't pick up. She was like,
why would you pick up?
God's calling and you're not picking up the phone?
I don't know. But those are one of the ways.
Did it go into voicemail?
No. But I thought it was interesting because she was struggling at that point. And again, when you're in times of like trouble or sadness, you get this tunnel vision and you miss these signs that are happening all around you. You miss the people that are trying to help you. So sometimes giving source some sign or something that can be consistent, so I like Doreen Virtue's Angel Numbers book. That's something that's been kind of universal in our field and working with numbers. And the zeros, it's an infinite number, right? It's never ending, which is God's symbol, right? So that could be a sign.
I think it works in the opposite direction. I think instead of asking, we should be giving. It's a two-way street. Are we asking God or divine source to make themselves known to us, or do we decide to step into that energy and that's already there and create that connection that's much stronger by showing love, to people, maybe just smiling at a stranger, that could make their day, doing random acts of kindness, things like that. And like I said, being grateful for the things that you have in your life.
Absolutely.
I think that opens up the connection very strongly, so that beautiful energy can flow both ways.
But you have to remember too, not everybody's in that place, right?
Well, even people, if
who are struggling can have a hard time with that.
Well, I think if they're struggling and they're having a hard time, I think the fact that no matter what they're going through, that divine source has a connection with them. And it just brings it really down to the expression like brass tacks. It brings it right down to the basis. And I think that's important for someone, because a lot of times when people are going through tough things, they focus on things that aren't necessarily important at that time. and the connection that they can have with source, we can come through a lot stronger because they are focused on it. Does that make sense?
And and I think that when you're connected with source, like truly connected, you're not going to see it as a problem. So I think the people that are really in a place of struggling, that's where spirit guides and angels are great, because they can view it as an energy outside themselves, because you can't view source energy as outside yourself. I guess you can create that God figure,
Right. But it's
but that's not.
it's an internal connection.
Yeah.
And then the basic thing we have mentioned is prayer. If you're going through certain things and you want to make that divine connection, talk, pray. And that's a direct line. You don't have to go through an operator.
Yeah.
And don't, if you want to work with source energy, when you pray, don't ask for things to be given to you. Ask how you can be a part of the solution. I think that's really part of it, is understanding that if you want God to do something, well, God's in you. That source energy is you. So if you want God to do something about it, you got to take the first step, because you are that energy. If you're not willing to take that step, that means God's not either.
Yeah.
It's a partnership.
It is.
And too, with the question too, is how do we see that in our everyday life? Well, we can see it, just the other day I saw a rainbow, and it made me think like how special a rainbow is and how lucky I was. And I remember giving gratitude and saying, thank you, God, for this beautiful gift of this rainbow. And it almost was like the magnificence of what's out there, right?
Yep. For me, the experience I had where I closest felt that energy, I think, was when I was standing with my grandparents down in Florida one time, and they had a place they rented by the ocean, and so I would just go out at night and look out into the ocean, and it looked like the world just disappeared. And you just looked out, and it was just infinite, and you just felt like you could just walk into that space and disappear. And I remember in that moment just thinking, like, you feel instantaneously small and so empowered. And I think that's
The glory.
yeah, it's just that
Because you feel
connection.
so connected with it,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's
To
those
source.
are the,
You make
Yeah.
connection right to the source.
Yeah.
and I think those are those things that we can look for in our everyday lives. Like, where do we see this grandness of this magnificence of the planet? And then, like you said, it being within us, and how we're so humbled, but also feel incredibly powerful that we get to experience this.
Look at the night sky. Like you said, you could do it at the beach, you can do it in a forest, you can do it in the night sky, and just realize that your connection with God or the source is strong. You're a spiritual being, and that our physical being is so small compared to the universe or what's going on even in a big city. But you still have that connection. And you can also see it in the lives of other people around you. Just observation. If you're in a big city, you can see people helping other people, people teaching people, and that's connecting to source, because you're actually observing other people connecting to source. So that might be interesting to observe.
And the key is mindfulness. When we're paying attention to have-tos and shoulds and worries and fears and stresses, and our mind is taking off, we're missing all the beautiful things that are happening all around us. So source energy is within us in the present moment. And I think to keep it in its simplest is, a good friend of mine always says, be where your butt is. If your butt's here, be here. If it's in your car, be there. If it's at home, be there. And that's where we start to see more of the magic and glory, I guess, of the universe and
Being aware.
all around us.
Yeah, being aware of the moment.
Yeah.
That's when you're actually seeing God and source for what it truly is, and that's the best way.
That's it. So we hope that answered your question, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this subject again on other episodes, but
And we love to hear from you. So, it's great to hear what's on your mind. And if it's something that we can dive a little deeper into, please send it over to us. And remember, take in what resonates and always consider the source.